Microsoft and how to adjust your meeting settings. And we want you to know that the recording and the presentation slides will be available in the chat feature in Teams under the webinar title. And so definitely take a screenshot of this. This will be helpful for you to refer back to. And we want to make sure that you get all of your questions and content covered today. So definitely let us know if you need anything. All right, with that being said, we have had some health screenings, wellness classes, and programs over the summer. And so some of these things are still possibilities for you to participate in. So we would love for you to take advantage of those. You know that when you complete a health screening, a wellness class, and a program, you receive two $50 Visa gift cards for completion. And so we would love for you to take advantage of this benefit as a UA employee. And our wellness work life team do a wonderful job of managing everything, particularly for classes behind the scenes, but they're always an integral part of offering these programs for you. So definitely take advantage. Okay, so don't wait, hydrate. One little tagline that we use in our family is while we wait, we hydrate. And so our kids think that that's really funny. So maybe that can be a tagline unofficially for this class. My name is Abby Horton. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a certified health and life coach, a Alabama ambassador for the last few years for the Honors College, and your wellness class educator. You can reach me at abby.horton@ua.edu. And if you have questions or just want to reach out, please feel free to do so. So this is just for educational purposes. So what we're discussing today does not constitute medical advice or nutritional advice. Definitely reach out to your healthcare provider if you have specific needs or concerns, but we're happy to answer general questions. So our body of water, the majority of the body is made up of water, around 75%. You'll see estimations as low as 70%. You'll see estimations as high as 80%, but most of our body is composed of water, and so it's really important that we replenish that. So if you're one of the folks that don't regularly drink water every day, you're probably feeling pretty run down, pretty tired, and dehydration can affect not only our physical health, but also our mental health. We can have a lot of anxiety and depression, and just some mental health concerns based on feeling fatigued and feeling dehydrated. So we always say that if you're feeling hungry, if you're feeling tired, if you're just not feeling yourself, drink a glass of water, which is considered 8 ounces, and see how you feel because you may just need a little bit of extra water that day, or you may not have had enough already. So think about that in terms of your consumption. So, what does water do for you? It helps with every body process. So, all the way from digestion, so helping you form saliva in your mouth, to helping your brain function and making good hormones and neurotransmitters, regulating your body temperature, keeping all of your mucous membranes moist and intact. It helps your body when you're going to regenerate cells and to grow and reproduce and survive in your cellular um, infrastructure. It helps absorb the shock for your brain and spinal cord. Even things like helping with your spinal fluid. So if you have a lot of neck and back pain, if you're dehydrated, you're going to see exacerbations of that pain because when you're dehydrated, that's going to limit the fluid. So that's going to definitely cause you to have some more, inflammation and more pain in your spine. So those are all things to consider. Of course, we always think about water in terms of helping us flush out our body waste and help create urine. And so that's a common one that you probably already knew. It helps convert your food for digestion. It lubricates your joints. And then it also helps with actually being the composition of major body parts is also a factor in helping deliver oxygen to the entire body. And so water does so much more than what we, kind of at first glance, what we might consider. So definitely keep that in mind when you're not drinking enough water and you don't feel great. It's kind of hard to think, oh my goodness, it can't just be from water, but it can. It can definitely be from a lack of water. So dehydration occurs when the amount of water leaving the body is greater than the amount being taken in. And so definitely during our hot summer months, especially in July, we've had record-breaking temperatures in June and July this year. We want to make sure that we're staying on top of the water because it's so difficult to hydrate once you get dehydrated. So the body is dynamic and it's always changing. And so when the water leaving your body is not regulated well, then it's difficult to stay kind of ahead or to get caught up. So we lose water because we're breathing, because we have humidified air that leaves the body, because we sweat to cool the body off, which is very true in our hot summers in Alabama, and because we urinate and have bowel movements, and water is going to get expelled with those processes too. So, in a normal day, a person drinks a significant amount of water to replace the routine loss. But if you have extenuating circumstances, maybe you're exercising outdoors and it's very hot, or maybe we're having record-breaking temperatures, or maybe it's that you've had some, big meals or things like that, and you need extra water on board. Maybe it's because you're teaching classes or having lots of conversations. The faster we breathe, the more we talk, the more we're going to expel that water. And so those can all be things that fluctuate day to day. So the amount of water that you need today may be different than the amount of water you need tomorrow. And that's also important to consider. So the body needs water to function. We've established that. Dehydration occurs when we feel like we have that loss in water. So the deficit between what we consume versus what we're actually expelling out through those different processes. So we lose it through sweat, we lose it through breathing, we lose it through our urine and our bowel movements. Even through tears, crying can dehydrate you, especially if you are crying a good bit and you're already a little bit low on water. So anything that is leaving your body is also taking water with it. And then prevention is really the first step in treating dehydration because, like I said, it's so hard to correct that on your own. We call it forcing fluids in nursing, where you force the patient to drink fluids. And I know that sounds harsh, but we're not really forcing it, but that's the term that we use to make sure that they're getting fluids. It's hard to force fluids when you have someone who's dehydrated because the body doesn't want to take on more water. And that's the thing about once you get dehydrated and you start to feel nausea and you start to have symptoms, you feel, less hungry, so your appetite dulls. You might feel fatigued, a little dizzy. It's going to be hard for you to drink water. Having something that is more of a hydrating substitute. So typically you think about Gatorade and Powerade and those kind of water replacement, electrolyte replacement drinks. Those are going to be a little bit easier for your body to consume. I don't recommend those personally because there's a lot of additives and preservatives and sugars and things that you will hear people in the medical world still recommend Powerade, Gatorade. Gatorade obviously was, really kind of the first electrolyte replacement out on the market for the public. But it's just not the best, healthiest choice. But when you're dehydrated and you need to get something in your body, have I, had Gatorade? Yes. Do I give it to my kids if they need it? Yes. But it's not my first choice. First choice is prevention. Second choice is going to be to get an electrolyte packet like LMNT, or it's called Element packets. We offer those at our Wellbeing screenings now. And so that's going to be, first line of defense, first choice when we need to rehydrate. The packet just mixes with water and it's, can be tasteless if you get the unflavored, but you can also get lots of other different flavors. It's a great one because it just has sodium and magnesium and some other electrolytes, no added sugars, nothing that's going to be added in terms of preservative. And so those are really, really helpful. Things like liquid IV, it has three forms of sugar. So when I taught this class last year, I actually recommended the liquid IV, and it's heavily marketed to help professionals. But I noticed that I was having kind of a spike in my blood sugar and then a dip, and I'm a little bit more sensitive than the average person to just added sugars. And so I looked at the packet and noticed that a lot of people had said that they had some blood sugar issues and fluctuations because there's three forms of sugar in a typical IV hydration packet. So that's something to consider when you're looking at a hydration packet. Um, and then young people and elderly people are especially susceptible to dehydration. Um, so that's important to note. People who have chronic illnesses, things like um, POTS, it's postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, that those folks are going to have more, susceptibility. People with heart conditions, blood pressure issues, all of those people are going to be more susceptible. So just know that there are certain conditions, but also circumstances. So I'm a little bit tired today because I spent the last 2 days flying home on an international flight that was 15 and a half hours long. And so dehydration is a real issue that I'm dealing with right now. I did stay on top and drink my water as much as I could. And you know that it's very limited once you're in an airport or you're on a plane. And so knowing that I pre-hydrated the day before and I plan to go and get a liquid IV. So, you know, going to like an outpatient clinic to get an IV is also an option for people. It's not always the most affordable option, but it's one that I use because I do have POTS, and so I am more susceptible to dehydration. So that is something that you have to consider. You know, are you at a sporting event? Are you on a plane? Do you have a medical condition? Those kinds of things are going to absolutely impact your hydration levels. So, it can be difficult to know, you know, are you dehydrated or are you just simply tired? Are you sleep deprived? It's probably all of the above. I know it is for me today. So, personal risk factors also play a role. Age, weight, personal fitness. So, you know, the older you are, the more likely you are to get dehydrated. The younger you are. So, those middle years, you know, 20s to probably, you know, 50s, you're probably going to be, you know, an average dehydration risk, but below that, you're going to be more at risk the younger you are and the older you are. If you're overweight or even if you're underweight, you know, you can definitely experience personal risk factors for dehydration. If you're not physically fit, then that means that your respiratory rate is probably going to get more out of balance. You're going to have a higher respiratory rate at a resting baseline, just kind of sitting at your desk, but also if you have to do anything strenuous. And so the more that we're breathing in, the faster we're breathing in, the more that we're losing water. And so personal fitness definitely plays a role. If you have heat-related conditions or you have had heat stroke or heat exhaustion in the past, you're more likely to have heat exhaustion or heat stroke in the future, and that's going to be a risk factor for dehydration. It just means your body doesn't respond as efficiently as it probably needs to the loss or imbalance of water. Medical conditions, heart conditions, diabetes, and then your diet. If you have a lot of added sugars, added carbs, heavy or spicy foods, more water is needed to process that. And also, alcohol is very dehydrating. So, usually for every alcoholic drink that you consume, you need to have at least 1 to 2 waters, which is around 8 ounces per, you know, consumption per glass to be able to counterbalance the effects of alcohol. So 1 to 1 is a minimum, 2 to 1 is probably going to be a little bit better. And so, again, most Americans are estimated to be dehydrated at any one given time. So, we lose water through all of the things that we've noted. And one solution is not just drinking water, but also staying hydrated by eating good fruits and vegetables with high water content. So, things like cucumber, watermelon, star fruit, grapefruit, radishes, celery, those are all going to be really good ways to get in extra water content beyond just drinking it. Things like juicing, so making a juice with celery and cucumber is very, very popular. You could add some mint in, so you're going to get some detoxifying effects of that. Can be really helpful. Grapefruit, a lot of times, if you don't have a contraindication to grapefruit, there are certain medications that you can't take grapefruit and take that medication, particularly heart medications. So you have to know your own personal risk factors there. But when you drink or eat a real grapefruit, that can actually help with hydration and with weight loss or weight maintenance. And so that can be a good one to add. Usually, we tell people to have a grapefruit in the morning, like maybe a half to a whole grapefruit, and then a half to a whole in the afternoon. And that can definitely help with weight management. So you're actually doing two really good things for your body. So, some other things about dehydration. Most heat illnesses are caused by dehydration. A person can sweat out about a liter an hour with heavy exertion, especially if you're outside. So, if y'all have ever been to the hospital or seen an IV bag, that's about a liter of fluid. And so, that's a lot of loss. And usually, we only give about 1 to 2 bags of fluid a day. So just think about for every time you're outdoors and you can sweat up to a liter, then that's really taking a lot. Even if you're going to a clinic or to a hospital to get an IV, that's going to take a long time for you to get caught back up on your fluids. Most people exposed to hot conditions drink less fluid just because your thirst response and your hunger response really kind of lags behind what you're actually needing. And so you can't rely on your body's cues. Usually, by the time that you're feeling really, really thirsty, you're already dehydrated. And so, by the time a person is thirsty, you usually have about a 2 to 3% dehydration. And so, that's really kind of difficult to catch up on, as we mentioned. So, other things that have medical causes of dehydration include diabetes, vomiting, diarrhea, which is the most common medical cause, burns, heat stroke, and heat exhaustion. So, this is when we tell people, especially vulnerable people like young children and older folks or people with medical conditions, that it's okay if you're not eating as much if you feel sick, but if you are having diarrhea, especially nausea or vomiting, and you're not drinking, then that's when it's a cause for concern and where you need to talk to a healthcare professional because you're going to need to get in some fluids in some way to keep you stabilized. So, other causes of dehydration, we mentioned sweat. So, a lot of significant loss can cause dehydration with sweating. So, if you're profusely sweating, that's a good thing to sweat. If you're outside and you're hot and it's 100 degrees, you want to be sweating. It's actually not good if you're not sweating because it means that your body could be going into shock or it could not have your open pathways. So, open pathways means that you're sweating from your armpits and everywhere else that you have sweat glands. It means that you're going to the bathroom, you're having a bowel movement, you're urinating, you're crying if you need to cry. Those are having open pathways. So pathways could be blocked if you're not sweating and it's super hot outside. So that's actually a cause for concern. You want to sweat, you just want to make sure that you're not sweating so profusely that you're getting super dehydrated. So that would be where you need to do a self check and come inside and get some water and reevaluate how your body is responding to dehydration. So the body can be hot regardless of whether you're outside or inside, whether it's intense exercising or not. You could be having dehydration from sweat because of a fever. That's a typical way for your body to try to cool your body off, is it goes into a fever. You get that chill, that shiver. The chill and the shiver will actually help cool your body off, but it can get to be too extreme and you may need some medical support. And then depending on the conditions, you can have, even just from a brisk walk, a few minutes outside, up to a pound of water that you can lose just in a matter of minutes once you walk outside. So, causes of dehydration, another one is burns or prolonged time outside. So, this could be a skin burn or this could be a sunburn. So, make sure that if you're outdoors, if you're at the pool, the lake, the beach, anywhere that's really reflective, especially around concrete or around a body of water, sand, or even snow in the wintertime, that reflection can cause a change in your body. And not only can you get a sunburn or a skin burn from that, but you also can get dehydrated quicker. So, if enough of the skin is injured with a burn, your ability to maintain your temperature and your hydration status can be impaired. So, burn victims become very dehydrated because the water seeps into the damaged skin and then it can seep out. And so, other inflammatory diseases of the skin can also be associated with fluid loss or dehydration. So, things like severe eczema, severe psoriasis can also, in an extreme case, can lead to dehydration. So, you want to protect your skin. You want to wear your sunscreen, your hats, and your protective clothing. Of course, your eyewear. But those are going to be things that you want to keep in mind when you're protecting yourself from dehydration. Some other things that decrease or increase your risk of dehydration are allergies, cold and cough, blood pressure and heart issues, irritable bowel or bladder because you're urinating or you're going to the restroom a lot, laxatives, your mental health can impact it because if you are crying a lot or you're not attending to your nutritional needs, that can impact it. Seizures, thyroid, and diuretics, so things like taking a water pill or something like that for your heart or your blood pressure, those all can be very dehydrating. So medications that treat these things are often going to be things that dehydrate us. So, what are some signs and symptoms? Obviously, you're going to have extreme thirst. You might have dry skin. You might have decreased tear production. You might have muscle cramps or heart palpitations because remember, the heart is just a fancy muscle. You could have fever and chills, food cravings, especially for something sweet or salty, because that's going to help retain some of that fluid in the body, and your body kind of knows what it needs. And so it'll cue you for that. It also will cue you to drink more once you eat salty and sweet foods. um, Headaches, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, or sleepiness. So, feeling very drowsy, especially daytime drowsiness, can be a sign. Dry mouth, bad breath, lightheadedness, and then your decreased urine output, but also an increase in the darker color of your urine. So, we'll talk about urine color in just a minute. So the darker the color of the urine, the more dehydrated you are. What we want to see is a pale yellow color. So if you see what looks like a teardrop here, you want to have a pale yellow color. So you don't want it to be completely clear. And a lot of times people think that that's the goal. But if you're too overhydrated, if you're too hydrated, you can actually be missing key minerals and electrolytes. So you don't want your urine to be clear. You want it to be a very pale, light yellow color. So in that first or second category here on that right side of that image. And, you can go down the list of hydration. If you have a darker yellow color, then you're seriously dehydrated and you need to really make sure that you're hydrating and monitoring your urine output. So how often and how much are you going to the restroom, and then what the color of your urine is. Does it have a smell? Is it clear? Is it cloudy? Those are all going to be things that you're asked if you do have to go and get medical help. So you definitely want to make sure that you stay on top of this. One thing to note though is that in the toilet, when you go to the restroom, you have to keep in mind that the water in the toilet is diluting your urine. So if you're very concerned about this, go and get a disposable cup, preferably one that's clear. So not like a red, Dixie or Solo cup, but a clear cup that's meant for drinking that you can dispose of, and you use that to collect your urine, and then you get a more accurate picture of what your urine color is. Because if you're just looking in the toilet when you go to the restroom, then it's going to be diluted with that water, and you're not getting a true idea of how dehydrated you are. And that always is kind of shocking to people. They don't think about that. But it makes sense. It's pretty obvious when you think about it, but sometimes we just don't think about, oh yeah, that's being diluted. So definitely keep a check on that. This is another image that looks at transparent lemonade. It even uses like light beer, amber, and burnt orange. So it's not uncommon to get to a light beer or amber color. And, just in being transparent and telling you, I was completely hydrated the day before I got on the plane. And then yesterday I was having definitely, changes in color in my urine because it's dehydrating to be at a certain altitude. You're getting less water because you're on a plane, you have limited access. A lot of times people will not drink a lot of water on a plane because they don't want to go to a restroom on the airplane. So that's a really common one to see. So it doesn't take very long at all. You don't have to be unhealthy. You don't have to be hot. You can just simply be in a certain circumstance that causes that change. So it's not uncommon at all to see a light beer or amber color or even burnt orange. You also can have urine color changes with medications that you take. So if you take UTI medications, or medications for like bladder spasms or things like that, you can have medications that change your urine to a burnt orange color, a bright orange color. You can have it change to a green or purple color. And so that is very odd to see, if you're the person experiencing that. And so you definitely want to make sure that if you're taking medications, especially for like UTI, bladder, urinary things, ask about, does this going to change my urine color? Because it's a shock to see a purple or a green or a bright orange color when you're not expecting that. But you can have those color changes for other things as well. So keep that in mind. So how do we correct our hydration? So we said prevention is the key. So making sure that you're drinking about half of your body weight in ounces a day. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you want to drink about 100 ounces of water a day. The minimum is going to be 64 ounces a day. And so, the old adage of drink 8 ounce glasses of water, so 64 ounces of water. That is the minimum. That is the bare minimum. So that's like 4 ounces of water while awake for 16 hours, assuming that you sleep 8 hours. So that's 4 ounces every hour. That's the minimum you should be drinking. And that is in addition to any coffees, teas, soft drinks, you know, um, Herbalife drinks, Starbucks refreshers, anything like that that you're drinking. You want to have at least 64 ounces of just actual water with nothing else added. People ask me a lot of times, is carbonated water okay? And some people do not tolerate carbonated water well. Sometimes it gives them a lot of GI upset. But if you tolerate it well, that is okay. You just want to make sure that you get a clean brand and it's just water. You don't have a lot of additives in terms of like artificial flavors and colors, because then that's not going to be as good. If you're drinking Perrier and there's nothing added, then that's fine. But you don't want that to be the main source of your water. Water, clear liquids, popsicles, especially for children. Pedialyte is not my favorite. Again, it's not a super clean source, but when your kids are sick, Pedialyte is really helpful. So yes, I've given my kids Pedialyte, but you just want to use caution with those things. And electrolytes, like I mentioned, are really helpful. So 8 to 10 glasses of water a day or half of your body weight in ounces, but usually no more than 128 ounces a day because you can overhydrate, like I mentioned. So you can have water toxicity, you can get your electrolytes and minerals out of balance, and that can cause some brain fog and mental health status changes. So you definitely don't want to overhydrate. So too much of a good thing sometimes is not good, but you have to keep a check on it and know that this is going to change based on like your activities for the day. So, again, you might need 128 ounces one day when you're out at the beach, but you might only need 100 when you're sitting in the office and it's really cool. So try to avoid sports drinks and energy drinks. They're not good for your health or your body. They're not good for your heart. There's a lot of sugar. There's a lot of caffeine sometimes. So you're going to feel good after you drink these because of the sugar and the caffeine and the fact that you are getting some hydration with it, but you're probably going to crash later. So you don't want to continue that cycle. You want to avoid alcohol consumption, especially if you're going to be outdoors. That's a really popular thing to be at the beach or the lake or the pool and have alcohol, but you want to make sure that you're really mindful of that it can increase your likelihood for sunburns, for dehydration, and that you're going to need to drink more water. So that kind of 2-to-1 ratio. Caffeinated drinks are going to dehydrate you. So drinking soft drinks and colas and coffees and teas, that's going to definitely cause you to increase your urine output, and that's going to make you dehydrate faster. So go ahead and plan to have extra water on board. The Stanley cups, the 40 ounces are really popular right now. They're very, very heavy. So it's not my preferred drink container of choice because it feels like a workout. I have mine here. It's just a regular tumbler. I always have some water on hand, but that was not always the case. I used to be the person that never had water, never drank water, unless I was forced to, but I had to learn to love it because I knew that my body needed it. So definitely, kind of work your way into drinking more water, especially between meal times when you first get up, when you go to bed at night. That helps keep you hydrated. There's actually some studies that show that if you drink a little bit of water at night, that can help with your sleep and with your risk of things like heart attack and stroke and blood sugar, because your body needs water at night to do all of the healing and the restoring and the repairing that it's supposed to be doing while you sleep. So I know you don't want to drink too much because you don't want to get up in the middle of the night and interrupt your sleep in that way, but 4 to 6 ounces of water at night might be helpful. And then when temperatures are high, avoid being outdoors, avoid exercise, and plan events where it's going to be in the cooler parts of the day. So usually 10 to 2 is going to be the hottest in terms of like UV rays and just when our temperatures are the most hot here in Alabama. Some people will even say like 9 to 4, but 10 to 2 definitely are going to be your high risk times during the day. You want to drink early and often. And so, again, find shade if you're going to be outside. There is a to be mindset principle. Formerly Beachbody is now called Body, and they have a program called To Be Mindset that I did several years ago. It's a great program. And they have a motto of water first and veggies most when you're looking at your health and your nutrition status. So always try water. If you're feeling hungry, it may just be that you're thirsty, but your body is going to read that as a hunger. And so if you're trying to be mindful of your weight, but also of taking care of your body really well, try a little water first and see if that actually cures your hunger. It might. Check your urine color again, like I mentioned, to monitor your hydration status. Track your water and how you feel. So, what kind of day are you having? Are you indoors? Are you outdoors? Are you active? Are you a little less active? How much water did you drink? How did you feel mentally and physically? That's going to help you determine how much water you want to have on hand and how much you want to be tracking on different days. So I know that if I'm teaching all day, if I have a 3 or 4 hour lecture, I'm going to need to have a little bit more water, usually 20 to 30 more ounces of water a day than if I'm just in the office not talking as much. So that's helpful for me to know. It'll be helpful for you as well when you're kind of planning out what you need to do to take care of yourself. Preventing dehydration, like I said, is key, and rewarding yourself for staying hydrated is really fun. I always believe in rewarding ourselves because it's not fun to do the things that we know to do to take care of ourselves. It's important, but it's not always fun. And it's simple, but it's not always easy. So some other tips, maybe set a timer every hour. So every 30 minutes to 45 minutes, once an hour, set a timer to get up and move your body, but also to then get some more water, at least 4 ounces. You could use an app. You could track it in your calendar or your planner. You can habit stack. So every time you sit down at your desk or turn on the TV or get up to walk, you could go fill your water bottle up and take some sips. Try to use a reusable water bottle because that's going to help you if you're leaving home, if you're going to be at work, if you're going to be running errands or going to be outside. Have a water bottle with you so that you can always refill it. I always say don't leave home without it. If you get bored with plain water, you can do things like fruit and mints and vegetables and herbs. You can make it fun and flavorful. And one of my favorites is strawberry, lime, and mint. So that's a picture of this here in this mason jar. And I think that's a really fun combination for me. But there are tons of other examples that you can get. Lemon water is always a really good one. So I just got back from Abu Dhabi, which is in the United Arab Emirates, and it was 106 degrees, and the heat index said that it felt like 130, and it did feel like 130. And one of the things that they do there regularly without asking is they always put water or sparkling water on the table with lemon or lime. And when I asked the folks at the restaurants, why is that a common practice that you don't have to ask for that specifically? They said it's because they know that people need that for hydration. And so they don't even ask you, they just make it readily available for you. And so that's something to kind of keep in mind. Some fun things to adopt from other places around the world that deal with high heat and high humidity. So go cold turkey, just rip the Band-Aid off and try to not drink soft drinks. Now, cold turkey works well for some people. Some people need to kind of gradually decrease their soft drink or soda intake. But again, it's really good if you can limit coffee, tea, soda, because that's going to help your body feel good, but it's also going to help you stay more hydrated. For me, a lot of times people will say, how do you wean off? I think drinking soft drinks at your meal times is going to be better for your blood sugar than drinking it, on its own. So if you go and get a Coke, which is my favorite thing, if you go get a Coke and drink it on its own on your way home, which is one of my habits that I've had to really work on over the last few years, then that's going to impact your blood sugar more than if you go and have a salad and drink a Coke because the food there, the protein that you have, hopefully on the salad, is going to help balance your blood sugar. But if you're just drinking it by itself, it's not as good. So one of my physicians, when I was asking, how do I, better wean off, caffeine and soda and all of that, he said, make sure that you prioritize drinking your soft drinks with food, with your planned meal times, not extra snacks or things, but when you're naturally going to have a snack or a meal, because then that will help. And that does make a huge difference. I can personally tell you that will be helpful. Also, some people are like, I'm going to have a Diet Coke on Friday. I love regular Coke. Some people love Diet Coke. I'm sure y'all have seen the latest reports that came out about carcinogens in Diet Coke because of the aspartame. Regular Coke is not any better because of all the sugar, but just kind of be aware of that. And then think about coffee and tea. Those can have microplastics. They can have mold. There's lots of things that can kind of impact your coffee and tea. So those are really not healthier choices either. They can be, but just the way that we typically drink coffee and tea, not as much. This is my favorite water bottle, the Hydro Flask. It's a good quality, clean product, keeps your drink cold, keeps ice in it. And then these are Element tea packs or Element packs. And they're really, really good. I personally like the orange flavor. It has an orange Kool-Aid flavor if you grew up on orange Kool-Aid like I did. And you also have the raw unflavored, so you can see those are the two top right. Those are really, really good. They have tons of different flavors. They've got watermelon, they've got a new grapefruit flavor. So everyone has a favorite flavor, but they're really good. They're pretty reasonably priced. And it's got sodium, potassium, and magnesium. So if you have conditions like heart condition, blood pressure condition, make sure that this is not going to go over your daily amount for those. So you would want to check with your healthcare provider. But these are readily available on Amazon and on their website. And it's just a favorite brand of mine. So, a 30-day water challenge. I want to challenge you for the next 30 days to drink more water and to track it. So, after waking up, take a sip of water, get a glass full and see if you can finish it. 30 minutes before breakfast, 1 hour after breakfast, 30 minutes before lunch, 1 hour after lunch, during a break, 30 minutes before dinner, and then just before going to bed, and see how well you feel. And then this also talks about reducing your coffee, tea, and soda and artificial sweeteners. If you can avoid those, that would be best. And then take this challenge without doing anything else and see how much you notice a difference. See if you notice a difference. So, additional resources, there's some things here about the Mayo Clinic and how to be heart healthy and fluid intake. I think this is a great resource for people who want to learn more. I always encourage you to think about, doing your own research and seeing what's true for you. So, experiment because what works for me is not always going to work for you. So, I think it's important that we take what we can, apply it, and then do our own research and figure out what works best for our particular journey. So we've got some great resources for you on our website, Facebook, Instagram, and blog. Carolyn and Sierra and Miranda are the Wellness Work Life team, and it's great for me to be able to join them for classes. They do a phenomenal job and they maintain all of these social media sites for your benefit. So definitely check these out. And then I'm going to leave this slide here. This is how you can reach out to me for more information. Also, you can go to wellness.ua.edu and find all of our previously recorded webinars from me and from some of the other folks around campus who've offered classes. And then also you can get more information about our programs, our health screenings, and our classes and upcoming events. So my contact information again is listed here for you. And I'm going to pull over the chat and see if there are any questions or comments or things that maybe I didn't cover that you'd like to see covered. So are naturally infused waters okay? Yes, if it's naturally flavored, that's good. A lot of times though, if it says that it has natural flavoring, it isn't actually natural flavoring. So I would prefer that you take water that you prepare and that you add the things like fresh fruit and mint and herbs to it. The ones that are prepackaged in a can are not the best. And also drinking out of a can can actually leach out the calcium in your bones. So we didn't go there. That wasn't something that I talked about today, but drinking from a can because of the aluminum can actually have poor health effects. So um, definitely consider that. Most of the waters that are infused are in aluminum cans. Where do you buy the LMNT packs? You can go to their website. So if you just type in LMNT and just do a quick Google search, you can go to their website and purchase, or you can go to Amazon and purchase. Thank you. Rachel asks, is that the drinking part or the product part that's in the aluminum? It is from drinking the water that has been in the aluminum. So regardless of whether you drink it directly from the can or you pour it out into the cup, the water has been sitting in the aluminum can. And so a lot of times that is not something that has been kept at a constant temperature. So when it heats up, then the aluminum and all of the other metals and things in that can start to leach out into the product. So um, it doesn't matter whether it's you're drinking it directly from the can or from a cup. It still has the potential. Some studies have shown that. So that's a recommendation. Um, Kimberly asked, what about Circle? I am not familiar with that. Can you tell us more about that, Kimberly? Rachel, interesting. Thanks for the vote. Absolutely. There have been a lot of spotlights on that, Rachel. So if y'all want to learn more, you can just go do a Google search. I always tell people to fact check me, but there have been a lot of studies about aluminum cans and even just like the sanitization of them, especially back in the day before they came in cardboard boxes, of how dirty those would get being stored in warehouses and how hot they would get. Even Oprah Winfrey did a special, years and years ago when she had her daytime talk show about it. So I think she was pretty instrumental in getting those changed to cardboard boxes to protect the lids. Because they used to come just in the little plastic rings, and some still do, but that is that is a different talk for a different day, but y'all can go do a Google search. Cindy says, I'm trying to drink plain water, but how bad is the Crystal Light add-ins? Okay. So I would say that it would be better to try a Crystal Light to wean off of things like Cokes and sodas and teas and coffees. But Crystal Light, it is not the best just because of the sugars, the sugar substitutes. If you have a susceptibility to having kidney stones, that also can aggravate kidney stones. So you definitely don't want to be having multiple Crystal Light packets a day, and you want to try to wean off of them and use those as a treat. And I do like Crystal Light. I had a packet this morning. I had peach tea. Y'all can tell I'm tired today. Um, I had a peach tea this morning, and it was Crystal Light, and it was very good, but it probably did not help my hydration, but it was a nice way to start the morning. Is the water bottle that has flavoring in it? Oh, okay. Thank you, Kimberly. I don't know about that one. I'll have to do some research. I definitely am interested. Choose your flavoring. Just I mean, because I am always about clean living lifestyle. That's one of my favorite things to teach, and it's one of my favorite things to tell y'all about. It sounds really unhealthy, Kimberly, the Circle water bottle that can have your own flavoring. That sounds really unhealthy, but very cool. So I'll do some more research, but I bet probably is not the best choice. Okay, how to encourage your daughter to drink more water. Do I have suggestions? So I would say to make it a game. Kids are like games and they like to be competitive. And even the most, kind of least competitive child and kind of, just I don't, for whatever reason, they like rewards. We all do. We're all big kids. So I would make it a game, depending on how old your daughter is. Would depend on, how you incentivized it. But I would make it a game and give rewards. So, if you drink this amount of water today or this amount of water this week, then you can have, this, whatever. If they're little, give them a sticker. If they're older, it's probably going to take a better bribe or a better reward. But eventually, you want to make it clear to them that they need to be able to drink water on their own and reward themselves, because you want to instill in them this sense of like being a self-starter. Because if they're just doing it for mom or dad or, whoever, if they don't do it for themselves, then eventually they'll stop doing it. When you stop rewarding them, when you stop giving them the prizes or the stickers or whatever it is you do, then when they're not with you, they're probably not going to drink water. So you've got to get them to kind of buy into the fact that that's a good thing for them to do. I have 5 kids, and all 5 of my kids are very, very different. One will drink water without being told. She loves it. She drinks it. She's good to go. She doesn't want a sticker. She doesn't need a reminder. My other 4 kids are across the spectrum on water and rewards needed to get them to drink water. So it doesn't make you a good parent or a bad parent if your kids will drink water or don't drink water. Kids will just be kids, and you just have to kind of encourage them as much as you can. But I think if you teach them why it's important, then that will help the habit last, and it'll help them want to achieve it without you having to really monitor that for them. Amy, does that help at all? Kimberly, thanks. I'm glad you found that helpful. Your 15 is homeschooled, so you can't remind her all the time. Teach them good habits, right? Absolutely. And Amy, but since she's 15, if she's got a device, if she's got a phone or a tablet or something like that, ask her to download a free app or there's apps that you can water plants. So like my 15-year-old would love that. She would love to water a plant. So every time she drinks water, the plant grows. So there's a free app that lets them do that. That may not be something she likes. Maybe you just get another free app where she can check it off. And then you can touch base with her at the end of the day and see, okay, well, how much water did you drink? Did you feel better? And let them, like, ask them those questions. You know they should feel better, but let them kind of associate, oh, yeah, I do feel better. Um, and with 15-year-olds, it's going to be hit or miss. My 15-year-old, some days, she loves drinking her water, and other days she doesn't. So but I hope that helps. Bernard says, great water bottle to buy is Hydrate Spark. It tracks water and sends you a message. Oh, that's really fun. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Amy, that sounds great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hope that helps you. Um, any other questions, comments, things that you wanted us to cover today? I feel like sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things to do. For me personally and for my kids, I think that is really true. We know that we need to drink water, but it's not always easy to get it in. And that's definitely not always fun to get it in. Make sure that there aren't any other questions. Thank you, Mary. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Did y'all learn something today? Y'all want to put it in the chat if y'all learned something new. That's always my goal. If one person learns one thing new, then I feel like we've achieved the goal. Oh, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. Didn't realize you could overhydrate. Yeah, that's a really common one that people don't realize. Yeah, good deal, Mary. So, yeah, pelt yellow is what we're going for. Yeah. Yeah, the Hydro Plus is my favorite. I mean, you can get any water bottle that you want. It's just I've tried every water bottle and I just particularly like that one. It's not too heavy, keeps your ice and your water cool. And they have fun colors, so you can color code them if you have kids or family members you're trying to keep track of. So all of my kids have a different color, so I'm able to get them their own water bottle, and then we don't have to worry about fighting over whose water bottles is whose. Oh, good, Tiffany. I'm so glad that you took a picture of the water challenge. And y'all, the slides will be available, so y'all can go back to those later too. I'm so glad this was helpful. Good deal. Well, y'all, this has been fun. I definitely have to go take my own advice because I feel like I'm super dehydrated. I'm very tired from all of the jet lag. That's another thing, jet lag will also part of jet lag is just the fact that you're dehydrated, and we don't talk about that enough, but there's some supplements and things that you can take when you're dehydrated. There's some homeopathic remedies that like our local natural food store has. So if you're not familiar, you can look at them. It's called Boiron, Boiron. And I haven't taught a lot about that or referenced a lot of resources because I'm new to that kind of homeopathic remedies, but I'm learning a lot. And that's another thing that we might add to clean living lifestyle one day when I have a little bit more knowledge. But that's something that I'm looking at of how we can best support our health with natural remedies and things. That's always going to be best to support ourselves with real food and real water versus trying to do supplements or vitamins or things like that. So hopefully that'll encourage you to look at the things that you can maybe swap out for healthier choices. Okay, we have a question about diet caffeinated drinks being comparable to alcoholic drinks. Should you drink 1 to 2 waters for every diet caffeinated drink? And probably uncaffeinated, and not diet too. Any kind of soda, anything that's dehydrating, like coffee, tea, soda, probably is going to be about 1 to 2 drinks per. So 1 to 2 waters per all of those dehydrating drinks is probably a good baseline. but you have to kind of decide, if that is overhydrating you. So looking at your urine, looking at how you feel, will be really helpful. And to kind of keep in mind that a lot of times when we go and buy a large Coke or Diet Coke, for instance, a large Coke at Chick-fil-A, which is my favorite thing to drink, has, I think, 65 grams of sugar in it. So that's more than one drink. So we have to think about serving size because we're saying one drink, but we really mean serving size. And that amount of sugar is more sugar than you're supposed to have in 2 days that you're having in one drink, plus everything else that we're eating and drinking. So, yes, we'll really dehydrate you. So, definitely think about increasing your water intake, but then monitoring your urine color and how you feel. Does that help, Anne? Perfect. Good. I'm glad that helped. Yeah, and we all have our favorite things to drink. Most of us love to drink things besides water. I definitely do. I love coffee. I love peach iced tea. I love Coke. And so, but for my health and for my weight loss, I try to limit those things to a few times a week versus having it all day, every day like I used to do. So every little bit helps. 10 years ago, I was drinking 6 8 ounces or 6 12 ounces, depending on the day, 6 to 8 to 12 ounce Mountain Dews every day. And and wondered why I was having a lot of heart palpitations because I have a heart condition. And so, I grew up on Mountain Dew and drinking that, and I actually weaned off Mountain Dew by using Coke, which is a little bit better for you than Mountain Dew because of the bromine in it. Um, and so we can have a lot of long-term health effects from that. So I'm coming from a place of I now mostly drink water with a little coffee, a little tea, and a Coke or two a week. To tell you that you don't have to be perfect, but every change you make is going to benefit your health and your longevity. So don't be perfect, just be consistent. Well, y'all, if we don't have any other questions, I'm definitely going to hang around for a few more minutes, make sure. But we've ended a little early, which I'm so talkative. That rarely happens, but I'm glad we were able to cover your questions. And if you think of something after today's call, just reach out. You can email me. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. If y'all have suggestions for future classes, definitely let us know. Miranda and I work a lot behind the scenes to come up with classes, and then Carolyn is so great to help us develop these and put these out for y'all. So if you'll have other classes you'd like for us to offer, please definitely email us and give us your suggestions and your ideas. Um, but we appreciate you being here and spending your lunch hour with us. Rachel says, is one able to tell prior to overhydration, or does it just kind of being happen? I think it's different for everybody. I think when you start getting that overly full feeling, um, and when you just don't feel great and you're overhydrating, I think you kind of get that like that floating feeling, like you just feel like you've had too much and you get a little bloated in your stomach. That can be a sign. But otherwise, I think it kind of just boom happens and you realize, oh, wait, I've overhydrated. And in that case, if you're really symptomatic, you need to reach out to your healthcare provider. But if not, usually you can just kind of slow down how much you're hydrating and usually it will correct itself, especially if you're paying attention. Now, overhydration or dehydration could cause you to have medical attention, but those are in the more extreme circumstances. So hopefully that won't happen to anybody on the call. But definitely kids and older adults really tend to have more of an issue with that. Their bodies just process things a little differently, usually a little slower. All right. Well, y'all, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you go get some good vitamin D, some good sunshine, take your water with you, get outdoors and enjoy the last little bit of summer break. I know we're probably not really on summer break, but summer break's kind of coming to an end for a lot of people. So go enjoy all of that and reach out if you have any questions. Give you a big roll tide. Bye, y'all.